Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday, and our good friend Stephen Bardo from NBC Peacock joins us. And don't forget also, if you're just a basketball fan, Bardo'sTribe.com, where he keeps a lot of Illini fans on cue, but it's not just for the Illini. It's like anything. I think that you can listen to us if you're a basketball fan, but you can definitely go to Bardo's Tribe and just pick up bits of knowledge from one that knows. Stephen, how are you, brother? Oh, hold on. I got you muted. My bad. Go ahead.
No, I said I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great. Good to see you last week in Chicago. That was a long day, man. You live up in the area, fortunately for you, and so I'm of the belief that it should never not be in Indianapolis. It should just always be. It's a shorter drive, first and foremost. That was a 22-hour day for me, man. I left at 3 a.m. and drove up instead of going the night before. And then when it was over, I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna go home and drive home. And I did, which I left. It was right at 5 o'clock Chicago time, and which I didn't have a choice. But then I knew, I was like, this is gonna suck, and it did. But I made it. But great seeing you up there. It was a long day because I cannot believe they managed to do all 36 teams in one day. Which you want to talk about a cavalcade for everybody, all the teams, all the players. I don't think people understand. They're on just a conveyor belt, whether it's CBS, NBC Peacock, or not so much ESPN, but Fox, BTN, the Christian Network, maybe everybody anybody, Sirius XM, that they go through these people like me, all these interviews that they have to do. And I'd look up and there's guys coming out of a room at 6 o'clock that I know were there at 9 a.m. And I'm like, wow. So a lot of work goes in on that day.
Oh, there's no question about it. And, the thing of it is, there's so many media outlets like yours that need to get this information from these players and coaches. And so I call it the car wash. That's what we used to call it back at ESPN. Was when if you came in the front door, you're going to hit ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Radio. It's very similar in the Big Ten Media Day. So
and you are going to get wet.
Oh, yeah. It's a long day. Yeah.
But it's fun. We've got the 4 additional teams in this year with that. Let's get added to it. And I've told this story on myself. I forgot that Eric Musselman was even at USC now. I'm like going, what? Why is Musselman here? And I'm like, man, it's so much to keep up with. Keith Smart's still his top assistant with him at USC, which I don't blame him for following him out there to Southern California. Not a bad gig if you can get it.
Oh, no, for sure. And I think, anybody that's watched Musselman over his career, he'll turn the program around. They're going to be competitive. They've got a kid in St. Thomas who I'm really looking forward to seeing play. Kind of was under the radar, but busted out last year at Northern Colorado. He's going to be one to watch. So, but watch Musselman's teams. They're going to get after you. They're going to play up-tempo style. They're going to change defenses. If nothing else, they'll be entertaining to watch this first season.
Well, we saw what he did at Arkansas, and he did pretty well. And that was kind of before NIL Transfer Portal. He already started to have success. So now with that, it's Katie bar the door for any program, especially in basketball. Now, Stephen, it takes a couple of guys that can just change an entire program.
No, I agree. And, everybody can't do it like UConn has done it, which they've done a fantastic job. They've attracted pros to Storrs, Connecticut. But then you look at a program like Kansas State. It was rumored that Kansas State has as much NIL money as anybody. And so in this new era of NIL and transfer portal, I don't know if it necessarily levels the playing field, Jim, but it certainly gives programs the opportunity, BYU, Kansas State, programs that may not have been considered necessarily at the top of the food chain. Now they're able to compete because they've got these NIL funds that are pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think we're getting closer and closer now to have a finalized settlement on the House deal, and so I don't know how that's going to change things, but it obviously will. Uh, it I don't know if it levels the playing field because the rich teams are still going to have lots of money. I was thinking about football. Indiana is having a great season. They've got 8 home games this year, so they're going to set a home attendance record. I expect them to be close to, if not sold out, for their last 4 home games, which would put them up close to 400,000 for the season. But then I thought about it. That's a little over 3 games for Michigan. They get 330,000 in 3 games.
That's true.
Like, wow.
That's a good point.
It's still a differential there, but the Big Ten, I don't have. We know Purdue is the only team I think we know who they are, and we don't really know who they are because you've got a couple of guys who have played some roles. Cam Heide is one of those. Miles Coven, but they're big man. They've got to replace Zach Edey, and well, you don't replace Zach Edey. It's like drawing from remember the Titans. You do not replace what was it, Bertier, whatever his name was. You do not replace something Bertier, but you can't replace Zach Edey with he's 7 foot 300 something pounds experience with a 7 foot 205 guy. It's going to be a different scenario for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, I think they're going to look a little bit different. I've had the pleasure of having Rayfield Davis on with me in Bardo's breakdown, and he really kind of shed some light to the way that Purdue may attack things. Yes, Trey Kaufman-Wren is one of the better back to the basket guys in the Big Ten in the post. I know he hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity because of Zach Edey, but he's a guy that he came into Purdue being able to score the ball with his back to the basket. So that's there. He can also space up and shoot. This young guy, Daniel Jacobson, looks like he's grown another inch. So he's either 7'3" or 7'4". He's got USA basketball experience under his belt. So Purdue may not look exactly the same as they did with Edey because he was such a dominant figure, but you're still going to see Braden Smith in pick and roll action, ball screen action. You're going to see Trey Kaufman-Wren in the post. And if you don't double him a lot of times, if you don't have bigs who are agile, he can command a double team and start spraying that ball out. And now you're in rotation trying to slow down Fletcher Lawyer and company on the perimeter. So Purdue will look a little bit different, but their principles will stay the same. And I believe Trey Kaufman-Wren will be a tough cover in the post.
I think UCLA under Mick Cronin, he's kind of got a good squad put together. Unknowns there for us until we get closer to the season. But looking forward to the schedule just came out. UCLA comes to Simon Scott Assembly Hall on Valentine's Day for a big Fox matchup. So that'll be cool just to see those two programs. And that's the kind of stuff I am looking forward to. UCLA playing at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, Indiana playing at Pauley Pavilion. Just some cool things that'll come out of this. But you spent some time at Indiana for a practice down at the Cook Center, and you got to see some things that a lot of us haven't seen this year. What were your takeaways? What are your thoughts on the Hoosiers? On paper, they seem like they have the most talent in the league.
I would give Illinois a slight advantage on the talent side just because there are 2 or 3 projected first-round picks for Illinois. But let me stay on course here. Indiana looked good. I mean, very, very talented. Kanan Carlisle, Miles Rice, and Umar Ballo are athletes that we don't typically see in the Big Ten. What do I mean by that? Kanan Carlisle is shifty. I mean, he can get his shot at any point. Now, he's not the biggest guard, doesn't have a lot of height, but he's strong, he's quick, and he's explosive. He's going to be fun to watch. Miles Rice is a little bit bigger than I thought he would be in person. So you're looking at a legit 6'4" guy with quickness, with burst. Doesn't shoot it consistently yet, but he's been working on that. But he can get downhill. He's an excellent pass first guard that I think Indiana fans will love. And then Umar Ballo really rounding himself into shape. I know Mike Woodson would like to see him a little bit lighter, but he's well within range of where the staff wants him. And he's just a load, and he can run the floor. And they're not gonna. He's not going to have to average 15 points a game for Indiana to be successful. They've got enough around him where he can have similar numbers of what he had at Arizona last year, 12 and 10, and be very effective. So, I mean, from Malik Renew, even if Ja'Kai Newton can come back and bring something in terms of his burst and athleticism, he's the best athlete on the team. And then the fact that they're able to bring Trey Galloway back slowly so that he'll be more than healthy as the season progresses. And then Luke Goody, Bryson Tucker, and I didn't even mention Mackenzie Mbako, who's grown an inch, looks like a grown A man, if you know what I'm saying, Jim. So Indiana, they're loaded, and it's going to be fun to watch because they pretty much have 2 starting fives, in my opinion.
And no, please don't say that, because Indiana fans have fought this first unit, second unit thing for a first few years of Mike's tenure, which they didn't have a second unit, unfortunately, at that time.
That's right.
But you're right, they do. But they have so many different pieces. You mentioned Luke Goody, who you know all about, was at Illinois from Fort Wayne, fits in perfectly, and he's probably the player that has to fit in most seamlessly with this team. And I asked him at Indiana's media day what he brought to this team, and the first thing he said was a winning culture. He won a Big Ten title. He's played. Brad Underwood has done a phenomenal job year in, year out. No matter what he loses, he puts together a formidable squad. But he's going to be a sneaky addition for Indiana. And Mackenzie Mbako, you mentioned him growing. If that shot continues to fall at even better rate, he is going to be a problem at 6'9", standing out on that wing, knocking down 3-pointers. It's like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm going to go back to Luke Goody. So he came on the floor and he saw me, gave me a hug. And he said, "I hope there are no hard feelings." And I said, "Man, what are you talking about? Like you're in your home state school. I mean,
he probably should have been there all along, to be honest with you. But that was Archie Miller's deal.
I mean, and the colors look good on him. And he's home. He's happy. He's got his degree from Illinois. He gave us great seasons over at Illinois. So I'm happy for him. And I think he fits, like you said, he fits flawlessly, because now when you think about what Indiana can do with their personnel, if you've got Luke Goody, Mackenzie Mbako, and Omar Ballo, let's just say they go a different look on the perimeter, you can't double down in the post. You can't shade one way or the other. There's so many different variations that Indiana can throw at you now that you mentioned that they didn't have in years past based on injury. That I mean, I didn't even mention Gabe Cupps. I mean, Gabe got great minutes last year at the point guard position. So now you've got 3 guys that can really run the point. And you've got so much versatility on both ends of the floor that I like what I saw at Indiana's practice. I really did.
Well, just from a neophyte like myself, I look at them as a team that could be 2 different teams within the same game. If you've got Ballo down at the 5, man, and you're going to have Renew at the 4 probably at that time, that's a different team than when you take Ballo out, move Renew to the 5, and now he can step out to the perimeter if he wants to, has to, and that changes this team. Mike talked about wanting to play a faster style of play, which, I said I don't know how much they can do that with Ballo in the game, but Arizona actually was one of the faster teams in the country. So I'm like, it's not going to be that big of a problem.
I think that a lot of times fans don't necessarily look back a little bit. And when you look back at Mike Woodson's New York Knicks teams, they shot 33s a game. Like, think about that for a second. They averaged shooting 33-point shots a game because he had the personnel. Now that he has the personnel to run, to shoot the 3, to do some things, I think you're going to see Indiana open the playbook up a little bit. You're going to see a lot of differences. the key matchup that you mentioned just now, if Umar Ballo goes off the floor and you've got Malik Renew at the 5, you put in Mackenzie Mbakwa at the 4, and then I don't care who else you put in there. That's a quick, athletic, very difficult team to match up with. So you may see Indiana play a lot like that. If Ballo gets in foul trouble or if the matchups dictate something else, you just have so much more versatility than we've seen in years past. And I think Indiana fans will be pleased to see how versatile Indiana will be this season based on the personnel they have.
Stephen Bardo with us from Bardo's Tribe, Bardo's Breakdown, and of course, you can hear him on NBC Peacock, which Indiana will have 6 games on the Peacock this year. And how's that been going? You've been enjoying that? You've been fortunate you've worked for ESPN, for BTN, which means you probably worked for Fox and now NBC. You've got to be around it all.
Yeah, I have, Jim, and I've been very fortunate. I think there are a lot of people. That's
what talent does for you, man.
Well, I appreciate that, but I think, it's about getting opportunity, right? And I've been able to get that opportunity based on things and based on people who felt like I deserved it. And so I'm very fortunate. I love it. I love, regardless of the network, being able to call college basketball games at the Big Ten Conference, one that I've loved and loved playing in and loved having my degree from. It's special. And so I'm just very pleased and fortunate that I'm able to work with Peacock now, in addition to BT and Fox, and some of the other networks that I've worked with in the past.
And for those of you that don't know, Steven's brother, Craig, played for Indiana and Bob Knight. Yep. Back when was that?
79, 80.
79. Yep. Oh man, not far off of they won a Big Ten title that year, right?
Well, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe it's 80, 81 because he was on that national championship team.
Oh, national title team. Yeah, he's got a big fat ring.
Yeah. Well, he didn't because he didn't last his whole freshman year. But
he Larry Birded.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. Some great memories there, and I had some great memories following him. Watching him there.
Yeah. Well, I got some not great memories as a student when in 88, I think, when Nick hit that I was in the damn balcony as a student when that you thought that game was over. Jay Edwards hits that shot and the place goes nuts. And son of a buck, boy, Illinois gets out of there with a win. But great, that was a great rivalry. Before we run out of time, so if I asked you for your top 3, I think I would guess that would be Indiana, Purdue, and Illinois for who has a shot to win the Big Ten title this year.
I would agree with that. And then, fourth, you could throw UCLA in there, but the top 3, I think you're thinking of Purdue, Indiana, Illinois, just both because Indiana, Illinois is so talented and Purdue's got that backcourt. Braden Smith, arguably the best point guard in the country, preseason Big Ten Player of the Year. He and Fletcher started 75 games. So they're vets. Purdue's going to be tough to beat, but the talent level at Indiana and Illinois is very, very impressive. I like one of those 3 teams to take it.
What does Illinois have? We've got a minute left. What does Illinois have? Because I haven't been able to keep up. I know they lost so much talent with Terrence Shannon Jr. and among others. I mean, he was one of the tops in the league last year.
Yeah, Kylan Boswell played with Umar Ballo at Arizona. He comes over to Illinois. Kasparas Jokšionis is a projected first-round pick next year. 6'6" big guard from Lithuania, can really play. Will Riley is a projected first-round draft pick from Canada. 6'8" wing, can really score it. Kerry Booth, who Indiana fans will remember from Notre Dame, he comes over. Ben Humriekhuis from Evansville continues his extraordinary journey. Looks like he could be a starter for the Illini. Tomislav Ivasic, Big Z, his brother played at Kentucky, now at Arkansas. He's a 7-footer for Illinois. So Illinois is stacked. They're loaded with talent, and Brad Underwood better have his chemist coat on because he's going to need it.
Stephen Bardo from Bardo'sTribe.com, Bardo's Breakdown. Am I missing anything?
No, that's great, Jim. I appreciate you shouting that out. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Go there. I'm telling you, if you're a college basketball fan, always something to pick up and learn. And hopefully we'll see Stephen again as the season progresses, brother. We really appreciate you as always.
All right. Thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Stephen Bardo, make sure you go to BardosTribe.com, Bardo's Breakdown, and you'll see him on NBC Peacock doing games this year.